You ever hear of Walter Harvey? He's starting a girls' baseball league. Want to play?
Huh? You're gonna have 4 teams, 16 girls to a team. Some of you are gonna have to go home. Okay, some of them are going home.
I want you to manage one of the new girls' baseball teams.
I haven't got ball players, I've got girls. There's no crying in baseball. Got him!
This is what it sound like. This is what it sound like. This is what it sound like.
I can't do that.
Who can?
Okay, so again, it's one of those movies that was hyped at the time, but also was really followed through on what it meant. Cian, why did you not pick that for your number one? Are you against women in sports?
Absolutely not. I'd have to state that quite categorically and very fast. The soundtrack would drive me demented. I can only watch a certain type of film, and that soundtrack would drive me insane. Also, looking at Tom Hanks, all I think was Forrest Gump, even though Forrest Gump came after it.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Again, Tom Hanks, Thomas was friends. Tom Hanks does play the same kind of character over and over again, but he is who he is. Like it's kind of like Sean Connery playing a Lithuanian Soviet nuclear submarine captain. It's kind of like, well, Vasily, how you doing? It's like, but that's not Irish. But anyway, but you know what I mean. So it is that kind of like he just doesn't change, and he just after a while he just gives up. And I think it happens with some actors. But you know, again, huge movie. When you look at like from Laurie Petty, who many people know as well, as I mentioned, Madonna, John Lovitz. Gary Marshall was terrific as well. Bill Pullman. So this all comes about where basically a confectioner wants to try and sell more, and because a lot of obviously men are serving in World War II, so he figures, okay, let's just start up a baseball league. Okay, so it's like from 1943. So basically, it's very, very difficult. So basically, it's I'd say it's a good movie that moved on. Of course, it was very, very politicized in America at the time when it came out, but it's actually grown. A lot of people enjoyed it. Andrew, why did you stick this into your top five?
Well, again, it's a very important moment in sporting history. You think around, it's not just baseball where this happened. The period when the real life teams were set up, the women's league, was not entirely altruistic. It was because during this period, towards the end of the Second World War and the aftermath, a lot of men, of course, and women, of course, sadly lost their lives. Professional sport needed a gap needed filling. So the story itself, I think, is very important. And if you watch the clip itself, if you watch the film itself, a lot of the jokes, a lot of the situations are very clearly engineered to be what would now be considered really quite controversial in how sexist they were. But that's exactly the point. Nowadays, you probably wouldn't be allowed to make that film because people might not look past the fact it's trying to show what the atmosphere was at the time. It has to be sexist. It has to show the sort of comments that were allowed or considered acceptable at the time. And that's actually why I think, although it is meant to be funny in sort of at face value, the fact it's sort of funny and people are allowed to laugh along to it on a basic level says that's the problem. That's what people had to deal with. So it's actually, I think, a surprisingly clever film that it puts you right back 80 years ago and shows you almost unknowingly, because people might slip into bad habits and laugh, oh, well, yes, that was funny. And then you think, hang on a minute, I laughed at what is now a sexist joke. That's what the film is showing. That's what they had to deal with. So I think it's clever.
It's kind of like there are things in it that are offensive. I mean, now we look at they're offensive, but that's okay. It's okay to be offended. Like, you don't have to like it. You say, "Oh, I don't." It's like kind of like when we mentioned the other day with Neil Rooney, had a chat with him. He'll be almost next week. When we discussed about loving sports, so you will all hear people say, "Oh, I hate sports," but when you go back and ask them what you mean by you hate sports, they usually hate football or rugby or cricket or GAA, whatever they grew up in, or volleyball, basketball. So it's a very specific sport, because they'll never say, I hate movies. I hate horror movies because they scare me. Okay, fine. I hate rap music because I don't enjoy it. I hate classical music because it's boring. Fine. And then when you break it down, it's like, well, not all classical music is boring, But anyway, this is what I mean. So it is one of the things that, like, people who want to be offended by it. There are people who, when the reboot series, TV series was on, I think it was on Amazon about 2-3 years ago. It was, I think, ran for 2 seasons. It was actually very bland. It was really boring because it had none of that kind of, as you mentioned, the bite in it. It had none of that kind of snarky. And of course, it was ranked 54th in the top movie lines of all time. Was there's no crying in baseball, and that to me, it's because Tom Hanks is shouting at the girl, the female player, and all of a sudden she starts to cry, and he's like, and everyone, so it is just kind of like, how do you deal with this? Because again, okay, apart from being female, why did you put this into your top 5?
Well, apart from the fact that it follows some cliche structure as an like loser coach, but I agree that it shows that in that period of time it wasn't very feminist. It was just how it was, and in sports, in that field, they showed how it was just in society and in that period of time. And I think I love that it's a true story, and that's just how it was. And plus the great casting.